This is a hot take. Let go of one thing, and it's ego. If I'm being truthful, just by observation, I think our Latino community needs more collaboration. So one uncomfortable truth that agents need to hear more often is that ego is the most expensive thing on their P&LC. You're not always right. You always have more to learn. Sometimes it's okay to be the bigger person, even though it's exhausting.
In 30 seconds, tell us who is Patricia and how did you land in the real estate industry?
Yeah, so who I am first, I am a daughter. I am a leader. I am a sister. I am a godmother and an aunt first, most and foremost. And I'm also known as a real estate coach. So how I landed to the industry, though, was actually by accident. A lot of people don't know that. So life was kind of happening when I was in between law school before going into that full path. And my family was still here. I was in Pennsylvania. And my family was like, we really need you to come home. We need your support. Family is clearly, that's who I am. And that's a core value of mine. So no questions asked. And I came back here. And as I was interviewing law firms, my godson's parents were agents. And they're like, if you really want to help people, you need to get into this industry. And I kid you not, I resisted it for a really long time until I finally had the conversation, and I never looked back. That was over 10 years ago.
And it was just meant to be.
It was meant to be.
You were so hesitant to join.
I was. And the funny part is that when I was actually offered the position to work at a brokerage, all the law firms called me back at the same time. So I'm like, God, what are you doing? So I'm like, you know what? This is already a period of my life that's transitional. At the time, I really thought it was just going to be a year and then I was going to finish what I started. And so I was like, you know what? Why not just do something different for a year? But like I said, it's been a decade.
It's been a decade. Fast forward to a decade and you're still doing it. And you seem to love it.
I love it.
What led you to wanting to become a real estate coach?
Mm-hmm. That's not a question that I get asked very often. And I feel like even the couple of times that I have been asked, my answer changes a little bit, but the foundation is the same. And I truly just have a belief in people. And I had someone in my life that was that person. And I know that my entire life would have been different had they not taken a stance for me. And so when I lost them to cancer, it shifted my entire life. And I'm like, if I could be her to at least one other person, how would I do it? And it was coaching.
What did the early years in real estate teach you that now shapes the way that you coach others?
Yeah, a few things. One, that hustle outperforms talent every single time. Being a team leader, I had the pleasure of working with so many different people from different backgrounds, and whether they were a corporate attorney for almost 30 years, whether they served in the military for over 25 years, whether they were a fresh high school graduate, everyone was on the same playing field when they started. And what I saw was no matter what the background was, if their hunger and their hustle was there, so were the results. So I learned very early on, it really wasn't like who knows more. It was how hard were they willing to work. And that 100% shows up in my coaching because I push. Because we all have more in us all the time.
So when somebody comes to you and they're feeling stuck, what is usually underneath that surface?
That's a good one. Honestly, I'm just thinking of so many of my current clients right now. And when they show up and I can immediately tell what version of them I'm going to get on the call. And honestly, it's whatever conversation they've created about themselves that's not true that they believe. Whether it's been external factors that have made them believe they're not good enough, or they don't have any value to add, or they're no longer competitive in the industry, whatever limiting belief that they have, it shows up. And that's usually what gets in the way.
So it's usually themselves.
100%.
It's ourselves that are just talking ourselves out of this.
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned is that especially with agents the longer that they've been in the business and when they want to explore what coaching is. Um, I always get the same look when I'm like, a lot of what we're going to talk about, you think is production. It's about how to make more money. Those are the things you've already been able to do if you're talking about coaching. We're going to talk more about how you get in the way of you. And I always get the same look of like, yeah, okay. And never fails, like two, 3 sessions in, it's like, okay, we're getting real, which is how my company name was birthed, Real Talk. We're going to keep it real to get it right.
What would you say separates a real estate agent that is inconsistent from one that's building real momentum?
2 things. One, that the ones who are consistent doesn't mean perfection. They just mean they get it right more often, right? And the other is that they're really detached from the outcome. So they can only control what they know they can control, which is usually themselves, right? There's so many things about the industry, the market, the deal, the other agent on the other side that you can't control. What you can control is how you show up and how hard you work that day. So there is a strong correlation between who understands that and stays in their lane, again, what they can control, and that they understand that some days you're going to fumble. And that's okay. You get right back up. The bounce back is crazy.
So, Patricia, tell me,
Yeah.
what do you think is one uncomfortable truth that real estate agents need to hear to be successful?
Ooh, this is a hot take.
Okay.
So
tell us.
This may stir the pot a little bit. And yet I can definitely tell you that working with hundreds of different agents and seeing those who really go from average to successful or 10x what they're doing, let go of one thing, and it's ego. So one uncomfortable truth that agents need to hear more often is that ego is the most expensive thing on their P&L statement. You're not always right. You always have more to learn. Sometimes it's okay to be the bigger person, even though it's exhausting.
How much of success in real estate is skill and how much of it is mindset?
Ooh. 99% mindset, 1% skill.
Wow.
Yes. That's my hot take too. Some people would say 80-20, other people may say 90-10. And at the same time, I think I'm coming from a unique lens, and I think any other coach out there or any other leader out there would probably say the same thing. When you're that involved with people at that depth, it's usually the mindset. It's like, oh, okay, I made something else more important than my commitment to myself. I know I could have done that better had I prepared better. Okay, great. Well, what was more important over that? I know the hard conversation that I'm avoiding. That's going to make everything else better. But I haven't wrapped my head around it yet. You're not going to stay motivated in this business. That's the reality. And I think that's why it's so much more important to talk about discipline versus motivation, because discipline is a mindset, right? So whether you feel like doing something or you don't, you do it anyway. So if you're going to make 20 calls, you make your 20 calls, whether that takes every ounce of energy from you that day, or you are caffeinated 10x and you're ready to hit the phone for 5 hours, right? But you do it anyway. And so that's why I really believe that it's 99% mindset. You can learn a skill. You can always learn a skill. You cannot train will. Listen, so if anyone, right, if anyone has read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, mm-hmm. right? How do you net $1 million in profit in real estate? Right? #1 selling book within real estate for many years. Mm-hmm. But what most people don't talk about, and it's because 9 times out of 10 have heard about the book, but they actually haven't read it. The first whole part is about thinking.
It is.
How do you think like a millionaire? How do you think a million, right? Because you can build momentum and build success, but staying in that mindset is the hardest part. So
you go back to the mindset where you're not a millionaire, and it brings you back.
Or you're like, I hit it. I'm good. Are you? Are you? Are you? Listen, not going to call anybody out. And I know I'm going to get some DMs after this. But I've had plenty of agents who are just like, I'm going to hit my goal in a fraction of the time. That's great. And then they coast for 6 months and then they're in panic because their pipeline is dry. So it's like whether you are at peak or you're in a valley, you stay humble and you keep working until you have the business working for you.
On that note, how do you personally handle when business slows down or feels uncertain?
Yeah, great question. And that goes back to the mindset, right? Because some people, like I remember even during COVID, how fearful everyone was. And that ended up being one of the biggest blessings this industry has ever seen. So one, to understand that some people are going to panic and that's okay, but that can't be you, right? So when things start to feel uncertain, that means that things are usually out of your control, right? People have unpredictability in their pipeline. They don't know if all 4 of their contracts are gonna close or one is gonna fall out. Maybe they had 6 people who said yes, they were ready by the end of the year, and they're like, just kidding, I'm gonna wait now because of the uncertainties of the world, right? So I really bring to my life at that point tunnel vision, because this industry can also be really distracting. The social events, and this is just me, right? Because you asked personally,
Yes.
right? I love being social, but when I feel things are uncertain, I actually retract. It's like, how do I work on myself? What other skill can I develop? Who else can I help that I haven't yet? What new relationship should I be tapping into? Right? Being intentional versus I'm going to go into a panic and fall back to see how this plays out. That's really being proactive versus reactive. And I 100% would rather be proactive so that I can be prepared, because what's the worst that can happen? I'm prepared.
You're prepared for it.
Versus, oh, shoot. And I am just trying to keep my head above water. And I've been in survival mode. I don't want to be in survival mode ever again in my life. So we're always thriving.
Okay.
So either survive or you thrive.
Now, how do you tell this to an agent for them to understand it?
Yep. Future casting. So we talk about what's uncomfortable now and how uncomfortable and painful it would really be in 3, 6 months or in a year. Because that's usually what happens, right? It's a problem. A big problem doesn't become a big problem overnight. It's a little problem that was ignored. So when an agent has a challenge, like let's say inconsistency in their pipeline, it's like, okay, what can we actually address there to solve that? And how do we have longevity around the solution? For an example, a lot of it's going to be lead generation, right? We hear that it's not sexy. Most people don't like to prospect. Okay, well, if you know that about yourself, or if that's not necessarily your favorite thing to do, then how do you aggressively do that so you can do it less? Earn the ability to do it less. Because if not, you avoid. You haven't prospected for 3 months. And guess what? Now you not only have a pipeline that's dry for month 1, you have a pipeline that's dry for 4. So the conversation that we're having right now, that you're not on track, that you're not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z vacation for your family, that you're not going to be able to upgrade your car, that you're not going to be able to have your reserves, I'm going to have a very different conversation with you in 4 months about what your life looks like. I don't mind being the villain at all. A lot of people that know me know, like I show up that way because once you have made a commitment to invest in coaching and in our journey, like I am in it with you. Like I care so much. And like, this is one thing that I think is not talked about enough. And I think we had a conversation another day about it. And a lot of people say in coaching or in leadership, I see this a lot with team leaders, specifically that try to lead sales teams, and like, oh, we can't want something more for someone else. Like we can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves, right? False. You can, actually, because 9 out of 10, they just don't buy in or they don't believe in themselves. So if you can't sell a vision or create a growth opportunity for your people and they don't buy into your leadership, that's a leadership problem. That's not a them problem.
It's pretty serious.
I'm 100% serious. Because when people commit to a journey or to a team or to a business launch, like that's a big thing. That's their livelihood. And especially in a leadership position, that's a responsibility that you've taken on. And if you don't want that seat, you got to scoot over and let someone else do it because you're doing them a disservice.
Patricia.
Yeah.
You are the current NARP DC Vice President.
Yep.
What does this mean to you personally?
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, part of who I am is a leader. And in taking that seat, I saw it in 3 different ways. One, it really gave me an opportunity to work closer with someone that I have a lot of love and respect for, Pamela. And being able to partner with her and her vision for the chapter this year. 2, learning more about what our voice stands for in this industry, because that's really important to me. I don't hide my Latina at all, no matter what room I'm in, right? So whether you're going to see my cafecito, you're going to hear me with the bachata playing, whatever it looks like, I don't hide that whatsoever.
So pride.
100%. So being able to be part of a group where it's specifically about what it means to our people was really important to me. And then lastly, which that's why I think for VP, it's actually like villain president for me sometimes. And oh my gosh, if my chapter's looking right now, I'm like, oh Lord. I'm not the one to be shy to have a tough conversation if that means making our chapter better. And I think truly, again, a little bit of a hot take, our people as Latinos have an opportunity to be better professionals in this industry. And being part of this organization helps me do that, right? Holding accountability, being part of something that like people are always watching, right? Well, you have no idea who's watching. So if you don't lead by example, or you're not the same person in one room that you are in the other, like that shows up. So I think all of those things really just make me a better person, which is why I do anything. If it doesn't make me better, I don't want it. So if I can do that and become a better person in the process, but also work with some amazing people like you, Pam, and the rest of our board, I'll do that all day.
What do you think the Hispanic real estate community needs right now?
If I'm being truthful, just by observation, I think our Latino community needs more collaboration. We're actually pretty divided.
Also,
whether it's by brokerage, whether it's by production, whether it's by who thinks they run better business practices, instead of being like a unified front to make sure there is as much opportunity and representation and leadership availability and all the things that actually make this industry go around, it's more competitive. And I'm only speaking by observation, and I work with a lot of agents, right? And I'm so blessed to work with a lot of people who are also within our Latino community, and I see it, and they confide, and I just wish there was more of that.
More collaboration,
because there would be so many more faces that look like us in rooms if we did that.
So what is a lesson that you had to learn the hard way and that you teach others before they experience it?
So a very important lesson that I learned the hard way that I really intentionally try to teach other people in the process, especially when they're in growth mode, is who they choose to be in business with. And that matters more than anything else as you're starting to grow, right? Because we can't do anything by ourselves. There's only so much that you can do when you're a one-person show, right? And I see it time and time again when leaders want to grow, but they want to hire out of desperation, or they just really like this person, but have no idea how they actually work. Or when there aren't any separation of what I call church and state, and they just blend all the worlds, and there's no boundaries, and everything is intertwined. And when one world is down, so is the other, right? Because they're going through that together. So what I really focus on when someone is trying to grow with the right people is their value system. I'm like, what do you actually value about your business and how you run your business? Because those are the questions you should be asking before while you're vetting someone. Not only is it like, do we like each other? Is it, do we share the same values? Is it people over profit? Or is it profit over people? Is it, we're going to be working around the clock? Or some people are like, nope, we have very hard boundaries because I'm not missing any of my kids' games. Or my expectation is that you respond to my text every 5 minutes. And some are like, I'm in back-to-back meetings, so I'm going to get to you when I get to you, right? Like all of those things really show up in how you operate, but ultimately the biggest thing is how you make a decision. And that's where relationships are tested. Because most business relationships that I've seen are tested when decisions are made that are hard, that were not made based on the same values. So because this business already is high turnover, finding good people, but finding the right people is actually a process. So taking your time to find the right people for you is actually a good thing.
If you could reset the mindset for every real estate professional going into this season, what would you want them to understand?
3 things.
Okay.
Discipline over motivation, consistency over perfection, and being good over being right.
Okay.
If you can hit those 3, you'll be okay.
You'll be okay. Last question.
Yeah.
What would today's Patricia tell day one Coach Patricia?
Yeah. That's a great one for so many reasons. But I think what I would tell day one Patricia would be, you can never care too much, even when they told you that you did. And I say that because when we talked about wanting something for someone more than they want it for themselves, and when you're in such an intimate relationship with people with their vulnerability through a coaching journey, you see a different side, and not everyone gets to do that. Right. But it also is a testament to what people actually trust you with. So I'm just having flashbacks of like getting feedback of like, you just care too much. You care too much about people. You're always like, you care too much. Your heart's too big, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, the heart that's too big and the person that cares too much is actually changing lives. And I'm okay with that.
You're okay with it?
Yeah. I get to do that.
You actually get to.
Yeah. Yeah. There's people that I can think of right now that like in our 10-year journey have families now, have had significant health journeys. I'm still like their emergency contact for their kids. I've held hands in divorce courts. I've traveled to other countries for their weddings. I've been on stage telling their stories, right, of how the world tried to make them small and they've become this like dynamite wanting to help people and making an impact. And I think for the loud voices that really tried to make me small, right, and say that I cared too much as a negative, I'm so glad I didn't listen. Because it's okay to. And it's okay too. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.